Europe now has an advanced Chinese surface-to-air missile system right in its own backyard. This is the Lowdown, where we cover everything that goes on in the past week or so with respect to defense and aviation. I'm John Waters, former Air Force fighter pilot, and this week we're diving in, taking a look, see what happened, and that's just one of the topics for this week. As with every Lowdown, we like to kick it off with a bit of history, with history of the day and threat of the day, to give you little nugget bombs of things that we think are interesting and stuff that, yeah, maybe it's a conversation for the water cooler or just good information to have. So this week we're kicking off with history from January 6, 1945, and that's when the Japanese launched their largest and deadliest kamikaze attack to date of World War II. And in this attack, they struck the USS New Mexico, killing 30 crew members. And this included the commanding officer of the USS New Mexico, as well as the British representative to General Douglas MacArthur, Lieutenant General Herbert Lumsden, who happened to be the highest ranking British Army official that was killed during the war. Next, we need to talk about the threat of the day, which is the HQ-22. And spoiler alert, this might or might not be in Europe's backyard right now. But the HQ-22, aka the Red Banner, hit initial operating capability IOC in 2017. Now, they exported the FK-3 variant to Serbia in 2022, and it just became fully operational and integrated into Serbia's air defense system. It's a mobile system that has a range of 62 nautical miles and a ceiling of up to almost 90,000 feet. Its missile is capable of Mach 6, so good luck dodging that, because also it's able to target multiple targets all at once with an advanced radar system. Capable of targeting not only aircraft, but drones and cruise missiles as well. Kind of displays just some of the capability of this missile system. And I would be looking for it to be proliferated to further countries as the Chinese look for additional buyers. All right, over to the flight line. First and foremost, the Japanese have been approved to buy 1,200 AIM-120 missiles. That's an AMRAAM, Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile, really the workhorse of Western nations' air forces when it comes to semi-active radar, a radar-guided missile. Now, they've been approved to buy 1,200 of these, and their variants are the AIM-120 Delta and C8, both advanced variants of the AIM-120 with modern upgrades that make it a very robust and capable air-to-air missile. Obviously, as the regional tensions continue to rise, incursions on their airspace, they're looking to make things a little bit more robust over there, and they're buying a lot of AMRAAMs to go along with it. Boom, the Hogs are out, Vipers are in when it comes to Maryland. The Maryland Air National Guard has been flying the A-10 for a number of years, and the A-10 by September of 2025, just a few months away, will be no longer. It'll be retired. The Maryland Air National Guard is transitioning to a cyber unit, but as part of this last-minute continuing resolution, a deal brokered between some senators, now the DC Air National Guard will have its F-16s, 121st Fighter Squadron. They'll be transferred to Maryland. Now, it sounds like they're actually physically staying put, and they're just being moved around on some paper, but this was part of that continuing resolution. Out of it, Maryland is giving up the RFK Stadium so that it can be repurposed inside DC, as well as some money for the Francis Scott Key Bridge. That looks like that's part of this deal as well. All right, if you are a newsletter subscriber, I do have the quiz in there today, and I did make an error. It's intended to be who is the World War I Medal of Honor recipient. Unfortunately, once I hit send, it's etched in stone. You can't go back again. So if you do answer it, and you get, I don't know, if you answer for World War II, it looks like a lot of people did, give yourself a pat on the back because you got that one right, but the question is intended for World War I. All right, the final active duty HH-60G Pavehawk has left Aviano. Remember, the Air Force is upgrading the HH-60G to the Whiskey model. They were going to buy about 120 of these, and they've since downgraded that purchase to about, I think, 70 is the last, 72, something like that. It's like the last official number. While Aviano has been onboarding those, they had the first HH-60 Whiskies arrive at Aviano back in December 13th via C-5 Galaxy, and these things are getting flown back to the United States, and I imagine to the boneyard as they get decommissioned. On to Serbia, which has purchased the HQ-22 and now has fully integrated it into its air defense network. They've now deployed the HQ-22 with a deal of 6 batteries, marking a significant step in their military modernization. Again, the HQ-22 is often compared to the United States' Patriot missile system or the Russia's advanced S-300 missile system, which we've covered on the newsletter as well. Again, it gives it a long-range look and very robust capability when it comes to surface-to-air missiles, as well as integrated air defenses, etc. A Chinese citizen was arrested as he was trying to leave the United States aboard a flight. He was arrested for flying a drone over Vandenberg Air Force Base. Now, the Chinese citizen was arrested. He's also a U.S. resident. He was arrested this past week as he was trying to depart the country. The incident occurred actually on November 30th when detection systems at Vandenberg noticed the drone and tracked it to a public park that was an hour away from the base. Base security arrived at the park, spoke with him, and discovered he had a drone in his jacket pocket. He allegedly overflew the base, taking pictures, as well as trying to figure out the base's layout from these pictures. So the aspect, the fact that this thing was an hour away from the base, I'd be curious. I mean, that's a pretty wild distance for most drones. And if he was actually offset, which I don't know how you'd be offset unless it was just took a while to get to him, because it's quite a long ways for a drone to operate. So be curious to hear more about that, which I'm sure we probably won't hear more about that. South Korea's deadliest air disaster since 1997 happened right before the new year. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that. There have been definitely some breakdown videos of what's going on. But 179 people lost their life. Only 2 people survived, which were cabin crew members in the aft tail section. This is a 737-800, so a relatively newer variant of the 73 that landed gear up and struck a concrete barrier at the end of the runway. I'm sure the investigation will tell us why that concrete barrier was there. When you're around airports a bunch, that's something you typically don't see is hard structures or structures that aren't frangible, that break away within the runway environment. But it sounds, I mean, looking at the video, had that barrier not been there, this probably would have been a relatively non-event as this can be, landing gear up, etc. So not good there. And then following up with the Azerbaijan Airlines ERJ-190 that was shot down. So it sounds like Russia is admitting to this, but obviously this happened on Christmas Day, and I think it's important that we have it in the newsletter. When you see the pictures of it, clearly it looks like it was fragged out by a missile of some kind. 38 people dying on that. It's a miracle anyone lived when you see the in footage of that flight with, it appears to be no flight control actuations whatsoever, which I imagine it's the hydraulics have completely bled out at this point. All right, over to Saudi Arabia. They're eyeing the Turkish Khan. That's Turkey's newest 5th generation fighter that they're developing indigenously. They started that project when they got bumped from the F-35 program. It sounds like they might be coming back to the F-35 program. See if they continue to produce this, if Saudi Arabia, if this is just a move to trying to get into a 5th gen program somewhere, or what happens. But the Saudis have bought into several aerospace and defense companies inside or heavily invested inside Turkey. And they're all hoping that they can start producing this Khan, this 5th generation fighter in mass production in 2028, which will help replace their aging F-16 fleet, albeit they have now elected to upgrade their F-16 fleet to the V variant, the F-16 Viper variant, which is now being sold by Lockheed Martin with advanced AESA radar, integrated defensive suites, etc. Turkey said a few weeks ago, again, back in our other newsletters, that, hey, we're not going to spend billions of dollars on outside defense contractors, aka Lockheed Martin. We're going to do this ourselves, and they've already started modifying all their Block 30 F-16s with the AESA radars. Been a lot going on with Russian ships or ghost Russian fleet ships tearing up underwater cables lately. Well, the Finnish police have detained 8 crew members of the Eagle S, that's a Russian-linked tanker, suspected of damaging the Eastlink 2 power cable between Finland and Estonia on Christmas Day. The ship allegedly dragged its anchor along the seabed, causing the cable to be destroyed and an outage. The Eagle S, flagged in the Cook Islands, is described as part of Russia's shadow fleet, which operates with minimal oversight amid the sanctions. Finland joined NATO in 2023. Pakistan's eyeing Chinese J-35 fighters. Pakistan does do a joint venture with the Chinese already with the JF-17 fighter, and now they're looking to buy this J-35, which was unveiled at the Zhuhai Air Show back in December. The advanced jets are seen as a response to the regional tensions that continue to go on. The J-35 is derived from China's FC-31 platform. It boasts stealth features and advanced avionics. This would help replace Pakistan's aging F-16 fleet. And this is the plane that people say looks a lot like the F-35. So let you be the judge of it. Former U.S. Marine Daniel Duggan, who was arrested in Australia and has since been detained for the last couple of years, is set to be extradited to the United States. He faces up to 65 years in prison if convicted. Now, he had multiple, or at least one cease and desist letter from the State Department back in like 2012 because he had traveled abroad and he was teaching at schools in South Africa and then eventually in China, teaching Chinese pilots how to fly. Now, the United States alleges that he's teaching them military tactics, which violates a number of laws, and that's why he was told to stop doing what he's doing. In 2016, he actually renounced his U.S. citizenship while living in Beijing. He did this at a U.S. embassy in Beijing. Now, they backdated it to 2012 when he became an Australian citizen. But nonetheless, this guy is looking at some serious time if the allegations are true against him. Now, they say about, I don't know, the winners write history. Well, the United States has dropped the $10 million bounty on the HTS leader. After meeting with him, the United States removed the $10 million bounty on Ahmad al-Jawani. This is the new Syrian leader of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, aka HTS. And this was in their meeting in Damascus. He pledged to distance HTS from extremist activities and cooperate on regional stability. Definitely, maybe. But let's not forget HTS is rooted in Al-Qaeda. It split from the group in 2017, so I'm sure they're just on a rosy projection and won't do anything nefarious. All right, that wraps up the lowdown for this week. Make sure you get the newsletter. Each and every week, it's absolutely free. You can click the link down below. And you can stay up to date with things that are going on if you miss these episodes, etc. But until next time, have a good one.